I decided to use my MyMISLab and the MyITLab to try and engage the students in more self-paced, self-directed learning, still guided by the teacher, but taking more responsibility. I think it's important, especially with MyITLab these days in the workplace, people are handed a manual and told, go get up to date on our system. They're not given a week of classes or a month of classes. So it's important for our students to be able to learn from a manual, learn from guidance. And the MyITLab is a good mix of learning from the book, but getting the support and help from both staff and from the helps and the hints and the show-me's that are embedded in the program. Well, they're both quite different from each other. My MyMISLab is looking at the theory of information systems, and it's got a good mix of videos, quizzes, which can be used for either assessment or for self-assessment. The MyITLab is self-paced, self-monitored, supported instruction in the mechanics of Office 2007. The MyMISLab, the students can access the lectures, the lecture notes that are from the textbook. There's also quizzes that they're encouraged to do weekly so that they know their theory, they understand their theory. Now they are self-paced and self-regulated, they're not part of the formal assessment, but I strongly advise the students to do it because we base our final exam on those question banks. Well, that's their tutorials. They have a 2-hour tutorial with us because this is a very supported environment. They go into the MyITLab and they work through the modules. They do a pre-test and that helps them identify whether they really do know this or whether they think they know it. Then if they get 70% or above, they can go on to the next module. If they don't make the 70%, then they do the training and do the post-test module. And the mark we take is the highest of the two. And the difference in marks we're having in some of our students is dramatic, from 23 to 98. So the training is working.
Our job in the tutorial is to deal with, or it's really troubleshooting, to deal with problems and issues that arise, whether they're technical or in most cases content-based, and we try and steer them in the right direction. At this stage, it might be a bit too early to say, but what I can tell you is that the program has engaged the student, and quite often I've seen the students in a state of what educationalists call flow, where they're completely focused on the tasks that they're doing. They're not listening or picking up background noises, and oftentimes they're not aware of the time.
It's changed, and in some ways improved. I think there's a lot more student engagement in studying the Office, Microsoft Office from the MyITLab. You can come into classes and you see the students working. And one of the really great things was seeing students when they did the very first module, which was the fundamentals, and they were getting 90 and 100% because it was the basics, but they were getting these great marks. And it inspired them to try more, and it inspired them to keep good marks going through.
It has certainly changed the way that I deliver the course. There's less need for me to stand up in front of a class and teach, which I don't mind doing because it's my job, but when that component is taken care of properly, then perhaps I have more time to add other value during class. I would certainly recommend that other lecturers consider MyMISLab for their purposes. I'm fairly familiar with first-year information system courses, and for those that have a component which is based on productivity software, I'd certainly recommend that they at least consider it.
I certainly would recommend MyITLab as a good directed way of learning Office. And getting skills in the basic computer skills. MyMIS provides a lot of additional material which your instructors can pick and choose from. So you've got a bit of a smorgasbord so you can start tailoring things. There are a lot of projects and activities in the MyMISLab. The options for the teacher are great, and because of that they can tailor for the student, and that helps student learning.